It was probably the easiest question that the president didn't have to dodge about why he pardoned his son, Hunter. I'm going to go with because he could.
On that pardon, one U.S. pardon attorney told Politico this about it. I have never seen language like this in a pardon document that purports to pardon offenses that have not apparently even been charged, with the exception of the Nixon pardon.
Ordinarily, a pardon will specify a certain case, and that happened here. It says, I hereby pardon Hunter Biden on the gun case in Delaware and on the tax case in California. But what's different about this one is it also says this is a full and unconditional pardon for all conduct going back to January 1 of 2014, which means Hunter Biden cannot be federally prosecuted for anything going back to 2014 and really before then, because before then is going to be precluded by the statute of limitations. And as you said before, the only historical precedent, the best historical precedent for this is the pardon of Richard Nixon by Gerald Ford, which has similar language that says full and unconditional pardon. So Joe Biden has pushed to the absolute outer limits of the breadth of the pardon power here.
CNN's Ellie Honig pointed out that Hunter's pardon basically makes him untouchable, going beyond his gun convictions to include anything else he may have done to break the law.
What I think is not disputable is that this is a historic act of political nepotism. This is the granting of a pardon by the president to his son. Joe Biden even says, if you really parse his statement, he acknowledges that a substantial part of this is because Hunter Biden is his son, and that will land Joe Biden on a historic list that he probably doesn't want to be a part of, along with Bill Clinton, who pardoned his half-brother Roger Clinton, along with Donald Trump, who pardoned Charles Kushner, who is the father of his own son-in-law, Jared Kushner. So I'm sure Joe Biden understands the historic implications of what he's done, and now he's earned his way onto that list. This pardon will tarnish Joe Biden's legacy. I mean, Joe Biden, let's be clear here, he lied to us for a long time. He said categorically, I will not pardon my son. He said, I will take it off the table. And he couched it in very high-minded terminology. I respect the Justice Department. I respect the jury's verdict. Well, now he's gone back on that. I don't know how many people actually believed him. I certainly didn't. There's tape of me saying there's no way he's going to make good on this. He's absolutely going to pardon Hunter Biden.
The unsurprising news that ironically has Joe Biden in the same company as Donald Trump over the nepotism aspect of this decision doesn't really seem to matter to the president. But for some reason, other political analysts are shocked.
Molly, fast and furious, what do you make of this new news?
I just heard it. I have to process it. I don't have a take. I'm sorry.
Anyone, Michelle, Miriam, presidential power in action on President Biden pardoning his son.
I mean, look, I don't think that Democrats can uphold all of these norms single-handedly. Hunter Biden was prosecuted for a crime that kind of a normal person who had committed the same crime would almost certainly not be prosecuted for. And Joe Biden bent over backwards not to intervene in order to show, sort of how much of a respecter of norms he was, unlike Donald Trump. But, yeah. We see kind of what that got him. And I certainly understand why, why he would not want to forfeit the future and life of his son to uphold a set of norms that are about to go up in smoke.
In other words, Donald Trump's blatant use of power and precedent he set is good enough for Joe Biden to do the same, considering the fact that he told everyone that he wouldn't pardon his son to show just how much he respects the judicial system. But since that principle didn't win the Democrats any political points, he's ready to adjust to America's new normal of openly admitting that, yes, the rich and powerful are above the law.
I kind of feel like I look at the list of folks that who pardoned during the first term. He granted 237 acts of clemency, 143 pardons, and 94 commutations, including Michael Flynn, Roger Stone, Paul Manafort, Charles Kushner, Steve Bannon, George Papadopoulos, Albert Pirro, and Lil Wayne.
Everybody.
I forgot about Lil Wayne.
Yeah. And Lil Wayne. So it is a president's prerogative. People can say, why are you doing that? But that's what presidents do every time. They do it every time they pardon somebody. So I'm not sure why the pearl clutching is happening now, except that that's what folks want to do. But it seems kind of foolish. You kind of knew he was going to do it, given all that's happened. But maybe I'm just kooky.
I think sometimes, unfortunately, in this country, there are two sets of justice, right? I, too, have many family members convicted of felonies, marijuana, related to marijuana. They haven't been able to get positions in certain places. They haven't even been able to get housing in certain places. When I applied to be a federal prosecutor, there was a checkbox. If you're a felon, explain the circumstances, and you were more than likely not to get that. Now, as Whoopi said, that we have a convicted felon in the White House, those questions should not be asked of anyone, anytime, anywhere. That is the bottom line.
Just like watching in real time the acceptance of a longtime criminal and felon by voters, we're watching opposing voices give up on their expectations of their preferred leaders to follow a moral code that many citizens never expected of Donald Trump.
So pleased with the hypocritical pearl clutching by this country. Eric Holder, I think, said it really well. No U.S. attorney would have charged this case given the underlying facts that have been investigated for 5 years. Less than, get this, 0.09% of people are indicted, prosecuted, charged, and found guilty of lying on a gun form. The only reason that Hunter Biden was gone after and charged, indicted, and found guilty was because his name wasn't Joe Smith, it was Hunter Biden. And that's the truth of it. You've got Eric Holder saying it, you've got former prosecutors like myself saying it. So,
Why didn't he admit it earlier?
Wait.
I think one of the reasons why he didn't admit it earlier was because he didn't know that the felon-in-chief would become the next president.
It might be time we stop detailing the specific facts and lack of consistency behind powerful families and friends of presidents enjoying freedoms that no one else does. Both Democrats and Republicans carry this image of being the moral party in different ways. And since Trump has allowed Republicans to openly accept depravity while still somehow keeping the image of morality to enough voters to win elections, Democrats look like they're ready to openly bypass the same fake veneer of principles too. But all their voters might not be on board.
Hunter was singled out because he broke the law. That's number one. He was singled out because he had an illegal gun and tax evasion charges, not because he was the president's son. And I honestly don't care. I just want Democrats to stop acting like they are on this moral high ground politically when they have shown us they're not, whether it's skipping the primary process when Biden stepped down and things like Biden pardoning his son. Stop acting like y'all the pure party and Republicans aren't. And it also shows me elected officials can do whatever they want as long as they have the political will and courage to do it.
I just hope Charlemagne realizes that many people that have experienced the biases and shortcomings of our judicial system already knew that most politicians, regardless of their party affiliation, aren't actually moral or believe in equality and access to the American dream that we all brag about. Biden's Republican detractors don't actually think that he or Trump are moral beings. They're only interested in coming off like they care about this, or think that it's a miscarriage of justice. The purpose from either side is to advance their political team's electoral success, partially under the guise that they're more principled. So the outrage is completely empty here.
Joe Biden, and the Democrats, after probably saying no less than 9,482 times unequivocally that Joe Biden would not pardon Hunter Biden if Trump was elected.
The president would not pardon or commute sentences for his son, Hunter. I just want to make sure that that is not going to change over the next 6 months. The president's saying he would not.
It's still a no.
He'd have to go through the jury system. Nobody's above the law, blah, blah, blah. What's he do? Of course he pardons them. Of course he does. Not only that, it's like for 11 years. So anything he could have possibly done in the history of time, he is pardoned for. So any Democrat, and lots of them, whenever you say this, it's like, what a liar Biden and the Democrats are. Can you believe it? They always Trump, Trump, Your brain is broken. Your brain is broken. You don't get it. Because here's the thing. What the Democrats have done for, 12 years, have taken this moral high ground that we're the righteous party, the truth, honesty, integrity, and Trump is a threat to democracy. He's Hitler and he's a Nazi and this and that. And then the Democrats, whether it's the primary or this, time and again, they're worse than anything Trump's ever done. You guys are scumbag liars, and you prove it time and again. And this is just the latest in a long line with Hunter Biden.
Dave Portnoy is acting like he's triggered over Biden lying to everyone that he wouldn't pardon his son. That's the obvious lie that he's acting like he's losing his mind over? You ever notice that opposing voices are never outraged over Biden's lie about less domestic drilling, when his policies were even more Republican than Trump's? They never freak out over the fact that he's seen as being anti-police, when his policies actually funded police to levels Republicans would admire. And even though they act like he's somehow protecting Hamas and not funding Netanyahu's genocide against Palestinians, they definitely won't acknowledge that in order for forces to murder the more than 45,000 innocent people that they have, they couldn't have done it without Biden's help, which they'll celebrate when Trump continues it. I just think it's about time we as Americans stop gasping and acting like too many of us don't support and condone terrible actions by our leaders, as long as they have the correct letter next to their name. They have regular Americans fighting over their decisions to pardon their families, best friends, and political lackeys as if it affects our lives, when it's all just politics.
Joe Biden, for 50 years in public office, has always pridefully boasted about his word as a Biden. And I guess we now know that his word as a Biden is trash. For months, he and his White House spokespersons promised the American people they wouldn't pardon Hunter Biden. But not only did he lie to them about that, look at the scope of the pardon. It's far beyond the offenses for which he was convicted. It's any crime he committed whatsoever for 11 years, which raises the question, what crimes does Joe Biden think his son has been committing for the last decade plus? It also raised the question of whether Joe Biden is going to pardon his brother as well, who was up to his neck in the Biden family influence peddling operation. I would ask Joe Biden to commit not to pardon his brother, but again, we now know that his word as a Biden, especially about pardons, is trash.